I saw the Brahmi outside.
Oh, yeah, that's down.
Park next to big cargo biking. Yeah, Brahmi.
I love them.
Good morning, everyone. So I am going to copy the meeting agenda in PD chat. Closed captioning is available on the desktop version of Microsoft Teams for this meeting. To enable closed captioning, click the three dots at the top of the window and click Turn on Live Captions. Unfortunately, captioning is not available for the web browser version of Teams. We do have quorum, thankfully. And I will do roll call momentarily. Right. Aron Artiega.
Present.
Anna Bailey Cova. Thank you.
Present.
Present.
Got it.
Emily Cadman.
Present.
Mitchell Henke.
Present.
Montavious Jones. Here. Okay. Kathleen Minnick.
Present.
Ben Teal.
Present.
Barry Weber is not here. Stephen Owen.
Here.
And Monica Walk-Smith.
Present.
And then our public safety representative is vacant. I will be monitoring the chat. Please keep yourself muted if you're not speaking and use the raised hand function. And I will hand it over to Mitchell.
Cool. Thank you. We've got a number of items more than usual on the agenda today, so I'm going to try to keep things moving, but start with last month's minutes. Anybody was able to review them? Find anything that need to be corrected? Was missing?
I'll move to approve them.
If I have a second.
Second, Kathy.
Thank you. All right. The first item is a discussion on Johnson Highway 175, or the study rather. Monica has presentation to share.
Yeah, hello everyone, and there was a request to have an update on this item, so it's kind of an exciting project, so I certainly welcome your feedback, in particular from pedestrian and bicycle point of view. We're about halfway through the study, so I have a kind of a brief presentation. I'll spend about 15 minutes and then happy to leave some time for discussion. I'm gonna copy some links into the chat, just information, the study website. Let's see, there we go. A YouTube video, kind of some background information from a 2017 study that the city did, as well as the current project website there. There was a public meeting that I think a few of you attended. I remember seeing Mitchell there. I remember seeing Barry there. Maybe there were other there as well. Anna. Okay, right. So some familiarity already with the study. So love to hear your thoughts. I will get going. Let me just share my PowerPoint quickly. Okay. Yeah, so this is just, I'll kind of go over what the study is about, what we've learned to date. There's a short video that I can share that kind of encapsulates, what the main purpose of the study, kind of some of the materials that were presented at the public meeting, the second one, which was held at the very end of April, and then kind of the next steps as we move forward. So in terms of what we're looking at, this road goes by a number of different names. There's Wisconsin 175, also known as the Stadium Freeway. We're looking at the portion like around Blue Mound, just north of I-94 east to west, going up to Lisbon Avenue. So this would kind of match in and connect to the new I-94 once that's reconstructed. One thing in terms of the scope, we're looking at a wide range of options, and those include all the way from keeping the roadway as is, all the way to really completely reinventing this roadway to looking at bringing it up to grade. Right now, it's a depressed freeway. What are the different options for bringing it up to grade so it's more level with the Washington Heights and Washington Park neighborhoods? One thing that I just want to highlight, we've been working with community stakeholders throughout this project, paying community-based organizations for their work and helping get the word out. One thing that's kind of remarkable and new in this study is that we have a memorandum of understanding with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and Milwaukee County. This is a memorandum of understanding that kind of cements that we're making decisions together. That doesn't always happen with WSDOT projects. So this is really led by all three governmental agencies. So that is something that we're proud to be spearheading with this study. Just, and this is kind of just a recap of, the research and data gathering portion of this study. We kicked it off last fall. We recently had the second public information meeting, looking through kind of a broad range of alternatives right now. I think people who went to the second meeting can test there was a lot of different options on the table. And moving forward, we're looking to kind of narrow down those list of alternatives that's being considered. In terms of, we had the first public meeting. These meetings were very well attended. The first one had over 180 attendees. The second one had over 300 people attending. So good engagement. Also, we're tracking the neighborhoods that people are coming from to make sure that and then doing extra work if we see that one neighborhood is less represented than the other, trying to make sure that the benefits, that all neighborhoods in the area benefit equally, whether that's, Washington Park, Washington Heights, Sherman Park, Martin Drive, et cetera. We've heard a lot of different feedback, and we're hearing everything from keep it the way it is to bring an upgrade, turn it into a boulevard. There hasn't been I wouldn't say there's been a strong consensus. I think what we are hearing consensus on is that what's currently there could be a lot better, and that it does create a divide between the neighborhoods in the area, and that it's largely, especially where it ends, on Lisbon Avenue, where it kind of dumps out onto Lisbon and North Avenue, that's really kind of a dangerous situation. We're also looking at Lloyd Street as it connects from 175 to Sherman Boulevard, and looking at ways to improve that, because we've heard it's very hard to get from a library to a park to a playground, which is certainly something that needs to be rectified. So this kind of goes over, I'll skip that since I covered that. Here is the video. I'm gonna get out of this and bring it up on my browser. Bear with me for a moment. Here we go. Okay, I thought the video had a pretty good overview in case you're not super familiar with the project, but let me go back to the PowerPoint. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're still kind of in, I guess what we'd say phase 2, moving into phase 3, kind of our next steps, now that we have like a broad range of alternatives, is to work kind of internally, and we've also vetted some of these with at some of our advisory committee meetings, to establish the different criteria so that we can evaluate all of the different alternatives by the same metrics. Um, bike and pedestrian comfort and safety is part of those criteria, but I'd love to hear from folks after this about what more specifically about what we should be thinking about as we try to narrow down these alternatives. The goal with this stage or with this study is not to arrive at one single alternative. There still has to be a formal environmental process after this. So I think we're trying to get it down from, I think what's there's some mix and matching with alternatives. So I think we're at over a dozen, which is a lot. The idea is to narrow it down, but not to arrive at a single alternative. The things that we are looking at, in terms of this goes into the evaluation criteria, is looking at safe system designs, looking at transportation operations, but also looking at economic equity, multimodal mobility, environmental factors, the ability to reconnect neighborhoods, and social equity. All of the alternatives do accommodate or do provide bike facilities, pedestrian facilities, buses, transit would be an option along the new Wisconsin 175. So that was kind of a baseline that all of the alternatives where they don't have any of those right now would have to be able to accommodate and provide safe bike, pedestrian, transit access. In terms of the schedule, we're about halfway through. There'll be a final public involvement meeting end of this year, early next year. So there was, for those of you who attended the meeting, there was a lot of materials that were shown. A lot of different alternatives. They're very detailed. They don't show up well on a screen. So I put the link in the chat. I would encourage everyone to look at the project website and look at the different alternatives. They range from keeping it as is to bringing the depressed part up to grade, like between this orange part between Fleet Street and North Avenue. There can be different options associated with bringing it up to a grade. For example, maybe you shift the roadway west, and that opens up considerable amount of land. Perhaps you extend Washington Park. There's also options, maybe you shift the roadway east towards Washington Park, and that opens up land adjacent to the Washington Heights neighborhood where you might be able to have some development, whether that's housing or other options. So so there's different alternatives for bringing it up to grade. So different options there. So I really encourage to check out the website and closer. Yeah, and just to go over some of the outreach. we've been engaging local officials. There's been a couple of different advisory committees, one that's made up of more community members, neighborhood representatives, then a technical advisory committee that's more like agencies, governmental agencies involved. We've had a number of different workshops, and we've been working, also attending a lot of local meetings. With that, I'll kind of pause and let me know if there's any questions.
Any committee members with comments or questions?
Yeah, and for those of you who attended the meeting, love to hear your thoughts if there's anything that jumped out at you. Or even if you haven't attended the meeting, you looked at the information online too.
I guess one of the things that I've kind of been hearing is, I mean, there are some benefits to the raised freeway as well for vulnerable road users, and that you don't have to deal with cross traffic at all on some of the streets, at least highway north-south traffic, coming through Wells or similar, or what, so Washington Park Boulevard doesn't intersect, or it doesn't, right, either. And so raising it to grade is something I've heard from some people. And so I think if raising it to grade is one of the options, figuring out those intersections and making them comfortable has to be priority.
Yeah, I very much appreciate the point. So you're saying right now, like thinking like walking or biking east-west across the new roadway, what do those intersections look like? Because right now you cross without any traffic, right? There's no, so because it's a bridge over it. But
Right.
yeah, and I think that's a good point. And I think moving forward, especially in this next phase, I think we've been really pushing the consultant team who's working on this to provide visualizations so people really understand. Yeah. It's going to be a very different experience, yeah, crossing the street. So yeah, thanks.
One thing I noticed just from this presentation today is we call out, I think, N1 and S1, both existing roadway. They call out that the speed limit there is 50, but that, I mean, I'm not sure I've ever seen somebody go that slow on the Stadium Freeway. So I'm wondering, you know, are we thinking about if we do decide that like continuing to have that separation for the sake of like just reducing conflict points, like is there an N1 or S1 that looks like maybe still something that's divided but engineered more with the idea that people would actually be going around 50 versus like 75 or 80, which I think is not atypical for the Stadium Freeway?
Yeah. Yes, I drive this road often, and yeah, 50. Yeah, it's more like 60 minimum that people are currently driving. So yeah, thanks for bringing up speed limit. Any of the new alternatives that you saw that are more like, you know, accurate options, all of those are between 25 and 35 miles per hour. But to your point about, is there an option that keeps it depressed, but is more, has slower traffic and kind of functions differently? You know, that is not really, wasn't presented at the second public meeting, but I think that's good feedback. I can share that feedback. You know, looking for something that's lower speed and less freeway-like. Yeah.
Do you know how many alternatives-ish there will be at the next public meeting?
I think kind of the ballpark is 3 to 4.
Cool. And you said that's in winter of this year or early next year?
Yeah, winter. Hasn't been announced yet, but probably very end of 24, early 25.
Any other questions or comments from committee members?
Lots.
Lots?
I will say this, so I have heard that similar sentiment. Right now it's safe for pedestrians, or perceived to be safer for pedestrians because they don't have any conflict points. Which that could be true, but I think about, I mean, I'm here as a bike ped member, ped bike member, but I also think about economic development. I think about housing development, and the current situation is really untenable for any of that. we have to tell of two cities between Washington Park and Washington Heights because of this highway. We have Elizabeth Avenue that will never be anything besides a speedway and a thoroughfare because this highway dumps out at Lisbon. This is supposed to be economic development corridor. Supposed to be lots of businesses, workforce development. That'll never happen if this highway continues to be here at this depressed grade. So I know that might not be the scope of DOT, they're worried about, safety and access and all that, but we can't look at this in a vacuum. I don't think I think DPW and DCD are smart enough to come up with solutions that can reduce, conflict points, make it safe for pedestrians at grade, because they do it across the entire city. So I think they have those tools. So I'd be very upset if that was like a driving concern, given that we have a neighborhood that is desperate for development. We have a neighborhood who has excess demand. And currently, that's never going to change with this highway there.
Well, to Montavious' point as well, like I do find like that Washington Boulevard to Olmsted Way crossing very low stress. But, I live north of Center, and like the trade-off right now is that, Lisbon, I don't even attempt to use on foot or by bike, north there, Lloyd, like they're all, so I don't want to trade safety in Washington Heights for safety in uptown, right? Like, I think we can be ambitious enough to hope for safety everywhere. So I think you're right. It's like, while it's a depressed like freeway, like it's always got to end somewhere. And there's, that intersection's very, feels bad. It feels bad biking through it. I bike through it on North fairly regularly, and it feels bad every time.
And in the video, I thought it was interesting when you put up when they had the map of the city and they showed the major highways, 41, 94, and 43. And then there's just this little stub from 94 that is 175. And I know we would never do that in other parts of the city where we'd have, we like to get to the highway a little quicker. Well, let's put one on Lincoln Memorial. So North Shore people can get down to 94 a little faster. Let's put one on 76th Street. Let's put one on the 30th Street Industrial Corridor. Nobody would ever say that because it's ridiculous, because we know, because we have 50 years of this highway being here, that just didn't work. It's untenable, and we tear them down at this point. So it's not lost to me that this only goes through the Black neighborhood in the city where we have this highway. And people are saying, this is a legit concern for us. We want to be able to move through here very fast. But we will never allow that to be a guiding principle in our other neighborhoods that are not Black majority. So that's not lost to me either.
Well said.
Thank you for the feedback. Any other thoughts? Related to bike and pedestrian issues or otherwise. Yep, but I appreciate all the comments, and I'll be sharing them with the project team.
I guess my other two questions are how this project like relates to 94 and Lisbon. Are there any other projects that intersect, bigger projects that intersect with this? Like, are those factors in how this moves forward?
Yeah, I think they're related, but they're not really dependent on each other. I'd say like I-94 east-west will most likely move forward. Whatever, what they're doing there with the new stadium interchange, they're looking at the Virgin Diamond, I believe. It can match in to any of these alternatives, so that's not a factor. The I-94 east-west would happen before this would happen, because this is very much in the visioning phase right now. So yeah, related but not dependent on each other.
Any committee members have further questions or comments? Otherwise, we can open it up to members of the public. Last chance. Otherwise, we can move on to the next agenda item. Cool. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And as a reminder, the next meeting will be in winter later this year, or early next year for everybody. Hopefully less alternatives to look at. So the next agenda item is a recommendation from us to support the growing MKE plan that the city has been working on. I think we've had somebody from DCD present on it in the past year. If not, I know I included the project link and everything when I sent it out earlier this week. But the letter is relatively brief in that we would address it to, I assume, whichever committee members would be hearing and voting on the ultimate plan. Zoning neighborhood development, asking the wrong word.
What are you asking?
What committee would vote on growing MKE?
It goes to CPC first and then Z&D,
City
Plan
Plan,
Commission. Yeah.
and then zoning and neighborhood development. Thank you. So that's who we would be sending this to, just taking an explicit position of support for it. It does, part of the plan does discuss pedestrian and bicycle facilities and how that fits into denser cities, walkable neighborhoods. If there's any discussion on that, be open to hearing it from committee members. Sorry.
As a general point, I support the letter and I'll vote to send it on. We should send it to Plan Commission as well. I don't know if that was on there or not. Plan Commission and Z&D.
I hadn't really decided, but we can definitely do as many people.
Yeah. I will say this about, I think a lot of people on this call in this room would support this legislation passing. It really is a political issue. And when it's a political issue, that means you gotta be on the phone with your older person. Like, they gotta hear about this. Like, so everybody who cares about this, you write a letter, call your older person, say, I support this for XYZ reason, get your reasons in line so you can, say why you support them. But we have to have all hands on deck at this point. And I'm saying this like with all sincerity, it is all hands on deck.
It's huge.
It is huge. If you haven't read the draft plan, go on the city's website and read the plan.
Incredibly well written and
Well written, very well written. They did a great job. Thanks, DCD.
Lots of great illustrations too. Like, I think it's very clear what we're talking about.
Mhm.
I agree.
But they're done with, I think, public outreach that ended at the beginning of June. They were in libraries and everything for a year, dozens of meetings. Yeah, and out.
And it hasn't been scheduled for CPC yet. It'll probably be end of July or early August. I can let this group know when it is scheduled. And just echo what Montavia said about sharing your thoughts with your alder person, and it would be appropriate to share both with CPC and Z&D.
Thanks for confirming.
Seems uncontroversial. I'd move to send it if there's no other discussion.
Sure. Motion to send the letter substantially as is to both the City Plan Commission and the Zoning and Neighborhood Development. Presumably we don't need to send it to the mayor.
Can't hurt.
I second the motion.
Hearing no objections. Cool. And so ordered. I will fill out the people to send it to and get it delivered. Thanks, everybody. The next agenda item is another proposal to vote on. Barry was not here, so I will do my best. He has been talking with both state DNR people and I think people in DPW about the Hank Aaron State Trail intersection, or kind of where it starts-ish at 6th and Canal, and how it's kind of difficult to navigate the sidewalk section onto the trail going from 6th Street going west, with recommendations to add some paint and arrows and signage to kind of indicate that both trail users and motorists to watch out for people crossing. I think he has a file, or was going to create a file with DPW for this if it was approved. But if there's any questions or comments on it, seems pretty straightforward to me.
I think it's a really important connection.
I think it's a good idea.
Next wall to the KKRT stuff, that'll hopefully happen next year too. Do we have a second?
Do we have a motion?
I just expressed
Oh, sorry.
support, sorry, that's.
Sorry, I was presumptive.
That's all right, I'm going to approve also, yeah.
Thanks. Second. You have a motion to approve and a second. Hearing no
Second,
objection.
Kathy.
Thank you. Hearing no objections. Approved. I will let Barry know so he can move it forward with DPW. And the last bigger item is the mayor or city released a protected bikeways map, I believe, earlier this month. And Danya is going to talk about it, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Haven't seen it.
Me either.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just give a brief overview of what we're looking at. So this is an interactive version of the City of Milwaukee's progress towards Mayor Johnson's commitment to install 50 miles of protected bikeways. That commitment, as you know, likely know, was made in June of 2023. The specific commitment is to have 50 new miles of protected bikeways completed or in progress between that commitment and 2026. So we at the Department of the City of Milwaukee and Department of Public Works, the City of Milwaukee as a whole, are at 41.2 miles of that 50-mile commitment. This map here shows both the previously existing protected bikeways. You can see the trail network in green, and also the progress that has been made towards that commitment since 2023. This is an interactive map that you can filter to find out a little bit more about each of these connections. You can also click on the connections to see exactly what the project is and an expected construction year and the status. So for construction year, for example, you could see which ones were constructed in 2023. The 2024 ones, those statuses are noted here on the side as well. So you can see some are in planning and design and some have entered construction phase. I will also say there's a lot of data embedded in this map. So if you see an error, please let us know, or something that doesn't look right. We've been making many little adjustments to this to make sure it's reflecting as well as we can the status of things now. But as you know, things change almost every day here. So there's a lot to make sure that we're getting right. But this is meant to be a reference of where things are. I will say that there are projects that people in this room and in this group likely know about that have been either applied for or in kind of some process of approval, potentially for TIF funding. And those, until they are absolutely approved, are not showing up on this map. So you will likely see connections that you know about that aren't here until they're like 100% signed off. And then you also notice there's a lot of gaps in this network. We're not showing plans and kind of like potential connections on this map right now. And there's a reason for that where, you know, we haven't done kind of widespread community engagement about what our completed network should look like. And that will be upcoming as part of the citywide mobility plan and the bikeway vision that kicks off this year. So we hope that this is sort of the base map for the beginning of that discussion.
That's an update to the bike plan from 2010 or whatever it is.
This is a new plan that we don't have. It's a citywide mobility plan and will include a bikeways vision. It's not an update. I don't think we should see it as an update to the bike plan. I think we should see it as like a new tool that we don't have going forward.
So it doesn't necessarily replace it in the vision of planning or?
Yeah, good question. I think in some ways we will certainly be making sure that we are consistent with the bike plan, but I also think a lot of the bike plan has either been completed or is no longer as relevant as time moves on. So we will be updating things we need to, expanding on them where we need to, and specifically building out this like community-driven vision for what our network looks like together.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think protected bike lanes are really even mentioned all that much at all in the 2010 bike plan.
Yes.
So this is kind of not necessarily superseding it, but is it bigger?
We are moving beyond
Yes,
it, I think,
that
and anything that is still relevant within that plan will be, of course, still part of our goals.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so this will be a 2-year process kicking off later this year.
Where can I find a link to this map?
What a great question. It is in our it has been posted on social media, so you can find it there. I am working on getting it put on a good place on our website, so I will put this link in the map in the chat. And apologies, there's not a good page for me to point you to yet.
So what are the big projects that are not yet finalized that aren't pictured, just out of curiosity?
I'm the wrong person to ask about that. Anyone else, feel free to share if you have something off the top of your head. Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
no, that's okay.
not necessarily the goal of the presentation.
Yeah. I think there's some interesting things about this map. You can see if the base map would load, like, you know, little gaps that exist, and, you know, or bigger ones that are likely known, but some little ones based on kind of boundaries of funding available and things like that. So there's some kind of like information to intuit here about some of these connections.
The big 6th Street project is in there. Is that going to be done by, let's say, 2026?
Well, the goal is to have them completed or in progress.
Okay.
So, and if we're defining progress as in planning and design, yeah. So let's see what we have for a year here. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grant was just awarded, so I assume it's many.
Yeah.
And it's a big project, so I assume it's years and years out. Sorry, I'm monopolizing. Did any committee members have questions or comments? Or members of the public? Or anybody? Yeah.
Perfect presentation, no question.
It's a great research. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I think it is in, sorry, but to see it on a map. There's a similar one for projects. This, like, I remember somebody presented a map that had like green infrastructure and road reconstruction things. It was more DPW.
There's a DPW 2024 kind of project tracker.
That's kind of what I was thinking of, maybe.
But it wouldn't show like things that are scheduled for construction much
Yeah, they get
later.
lighting and things, alleyways, not bike specific, bike specific.
Cool.
It's a great map for planning your route,
Yeah,
just in case.
2026.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
2020,
Few years
yeah,
ahead.
2028 ride. Cool.
Yeah, no, that's excellent to see. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is work groups. Targeted improvements, we did not meet. The only thing was Barry's recommendation on the state trail. Unless Ben, Kathy wanted to add anything regarding targeted improvements.
No, I don't have anything.
Projects.
Oh, that's me. We did not meet nor been.
All of these. Actually, yeah, sorry. Ben.
Oh, yes. No big updates since last time where, the, pledge file update, it's working its way through. And then we're continuing to, try to work on the, snow clearing stuff with, so no big updates, but those things are, unless Kathy wants to.
For the ledge file, it's either going to, if it's, because Mitch, you said that you can't appear next
Yeah.
cycle. We could have it scheduled for next cycle if someone else wants to,
Right.
someone else from the committee wants to come and speak to it.
So if
I'll
somebody-
come in, I can come in up here.
I forget what day, it was July like 8th or 12th or something like that.
I can double check and let you.
Is that week,
But you know,
I think,
3 weeks from now.
I'm happy to come.
because then there's recess after that, so
Yes.
There wouldn't
that
be a
would
meeting
the
until
last meeting before
September.
recess. And then you'll be getting into budget and things like that.
cool. So
I did have a conversation with Alderwoman Dmitrievich's aide yesterday regarding the snow thing, because I've kind of been pushing her and saying, hey, if you want to do it, now is the time to do it so that we can get changes in place so that they're ready for snow season. And Sherry didn't think that the Alderwoman, she's not convinced she's going to move forward with it. But so she's going to see if maybe Alderwoman Dmitrievic wants to step back and just let Alderman Westmoreland take charge, because technically they're co-sponsoring the legislation. And he's deferring to her at this point, is my understanding. So I'm going to see if I can get some movement there, perhaps with Alderman Westmoreland.
he would be the one we would be working with if that was
Right.
moving forward.
Yeah, because he's the other sponsor on the legislation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And can you guys provide an overview of the legislation for the good of the committee?
You want?
Sorry, the ledge file one, yeah, so, last year, there was a lot of work done on the topic of daylighting, and we kind of ran into, the very predictable barrier of state legislation. So this file is just, adding to our ledge file, asking for more, local control of parking regulations. We're keeping it general instead of asking for like, oh, change it from 15 feet to 30 feet. But this is a view just letting us set our own policies around parking, including hopefully daylighting to increase distance from intersections.
It would be included in our lobbying package.
Yeah, our lobbying package that our lobbyists take to Springfield, or not Springfield. I used to live in Illinois. I grew up. Take to Madison. It's embarrassing.
Just as much luck in Springfield.
Yeah.
What did that have to do with snow?
Oh, that's two separate items, Sorry. Yeah, the snow is a separate thing. I think in March or so, I think they were starting to work on a package, to think about how we could improve snow clearing. I don't think we ever saw like details or draft legislation, but
Yeah, the draft legislation hasn't been made public at the request of the sponsor. But basically it looks at the requirements for people to clear for people to clear their sidewalks, including crosswalks, bus stops, digging out hydrants, things like that. It looks at what the time limit should be and what some of the penalties should be. It's kind of was the general aspect of it. But it did kind of stall because there's some technical issues with changing some of those things. And that's really about all I can say about it at the moment.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you both. With that, assuming there's nothing else from policies. Was there any, we can move into new business? Trying to think if there's anything we discussed today that we wanted to follow up on for next month. Nothing's coming to me unless growing MP, there's something there, but I don't know. I need to look at the dates for when we meet and when CPC and ZMD meet. But other than that, is there any new business that we wanted to take up or plan to take up for next month? DPW, anything big coming up or no?
Actually, I would eventually like to kind of go over the mobility and the bikeway vision plan in more detail with you all and share the scope and kind of expected schedule for the planning process.
Mhm.
It would be good to do that kind of early as we're kicking off. So next month could be a good time.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll just, if hopefully be ready by then to do a kind of general overview with you all. And if not the next month, but pretty soon.
Yeah, that'd be great. If it doesn't work out, that's also totally fine. Anything else from anybody, committee members? Let's move into events and announcements. So if anybody in the room or on the call has events or announcements to make, please raise your hand. Bike rides, bicycle events, pedestrian events, DPW events, public meetings.
Tour of America's Dairyland is going on right now. Everybody get out and go watch bike race this weekend.
Today is Norwood, tomorrow is
today,
Downer.
Downer tomorrow, and then Tosa on Sunday.
East Tosa Village, right on Sunday. Great time.
Great time.
There's next
All
week,
day.
Friday, 6 p.m. It's our monthly critical mass ride. We'll be ending at South Shore this month, hopefully. We leave, roll out from Red Arrow at 6 p.m. next week, Friday. Mary Beth has her hand up.
Yeah, just a shout out to Northwest Side CDC. They put together the SOUL roll, that's SOUL calendar. Tons and tons of biking events and other things throughout the summer across the city. So.
Thank you. Anybody else? It's hard to believe, but
So the front half of June was really packed.
somebody else has their hand up, meeting guest. Go ahead. You're muted.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes. Oh, we could briefly.
Now?
Yes.
Does it work? Fantastic, thanks. I'm not a representative, but I know that the River West 24 is having practice laps every Wednesday at 7 p.m. starting at start finish.
At every Wednesday?
Correct.
Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Nope. Is somebody want to correct me? I think, yeah, it was Wednesday or Thursday. So this is my failure is not being a representative. They're very active on Instagram, so you can easily find info. But I think with an event like that, the more people that are involved, the longer and the more often, the better.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Wednesday?
Wednesday or Thursday,
Okay,
but we could check and confirm on the Instagram.
all right.
Any other events or announcements? Is I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. No objections. We'll adjourn. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Really nice calendar. The silver what times he put on.
There's a bunch of